They say the quiet life is a choice. For David, it was a carefully crafted reality, built by hand and protected by the gentle flow of the creek. His small bridge wasn't just a crossing, it was a threshold, marking the boundary of his peaceful, self-sufficient world, a place where craftsmanship mattered, and the rhythm of nature dictated the day. But beyond the serenity of his woods, the relentless march of progress was bringing a new kind of chaos. A sprawling, modern development, driven by endless construction, was encroaching, and with it came a force determined to pave over everything in its path, including the quiet dignity of a man's home. David was about to discover that some boundaries, even those made of wood and water, were about to be severely tested. The first breach is rarely subtle. For David, it arrived in a cloud of dust and the terrifying groan of splintering wood. The cement truck, a symbol of the relentless expansion next door, wasn't just crossing his bridge, it was crushing it. This was not a mistake. It was a deliberate act of trespass, driven by convenience and a complete disregard for private property. And overseeing it all was Cynthia, the HOA's self-appointed community liaison, a woman who believed her projects took precedence over any private rights. She saw David's bridge not as his property, but as a convenient shortcut, a means to an end. This wasn't just about a bridge. It was about a fundamental violation of boundaries, and David was about to learn thus how far she was willing to go. The violations escalated into outright destruction. Cynthia's convenience became David's nightmare, as the rhythmic rumble of cement trucks turned his tranquil access into a crumbling pathway. Each heavy crossing was a calculated assault on his property, his peace, and his inherent right to security. David, a man whose hands built and repaired, tried every rational approach. He spoke to Cynthia, appealing to common sense and legality, only to be met with her cold, dismissive arrogance. He reached out to the HOA board, providing evidence, seeking mediation, only to find himself walled off by bureaucratic indifference and Cynthia's evident influence. The bridge wasn't just collapsing. His faith in conventional solutions was, too. He realized that against such entrenched, irrational disregard, logic and civility were proving to be utterly useless. David's frustration, though deep, was slowly morphing into a cold, calculating resolve. He had exhausted the paths of civility and official complaint. Now, his mind, the mind of a builder and a craftsman, began to pivot from repair to counter-strategy. He wasn't just looking at the bridge's damage. He was analyzing its vulnerability, its critical stress points. He realized that Cynthia saw his bridge as a weakness to be exploited. He decided to turn that perception on its head. He began to envision a solution not found in blueprints for simple repair, but in the subtle art of engineering a consequence, a trap, meticulously planned, legally defensible, and utterly unexpected. He wasn't going to just stop the trucks. He was going to ensure that the very act of their trespass would become the instrument of Cynthia's own, very public, undoing. The bridge, once a symbol of David's peaceful autonomy, had become a testament to Cynthia's destructive disregard. Despite clear danger signs and David's final, desperate attempt at communication, she gave the order to proceed. Her arrogance was absolute, her belief in her own impunity unwavering. She saw a damaged bridge. David saw a stage. The truck rolled forward, each slow, agonizing evolution of its tires an echo of Cynthia's contempt. But what she saw as a final act of domination, David saw as the precise moment his meticulously laid plans would come to fruition. The point of no return had been crossed. The trap, now set and triggered, was about to snap shut. The roar of the cement truck turned into a metallic groan, then a sickening lurch. Cynthia's triumph dissolved into bewilderment, then pure, unadulterated terror. David's trap wasn't designed for destruction. It was engineered for mobilization. The bridge didn't just break. It became a precision instrument of consequence. The truck was perfectly intact, its valuable cargo preserved, but it was utterly, definitively stuck, a colossal, concrete-filled monument to Cynthia's arrogance, now perfectly framed for all to see. David had understood her core motivation, convenience, and he had turned it into her ultimate inconvenience. She had sought to use his bridge. Now, his bridge had used her, exposing her disregard in the most public and undeniable way possible. The silent craftsman had delivered his masterpiece. The immobilized cement truck quickly became a local sensation. What began as a private dispute had now exploded into a very public spectacle. David, calm and collected, provided his factual account to the responding officers, a clear case of repeated trespass and deliberate damage, culminating in an illegally stalled vehicle on private property. The news crews, always hungry for the bizarre and the unjust, descended upon the scene. Cynthia's arrogance, once confined to HOA meetings, was now broadcast for all to see. The sheer audacity of David's trap, his ingenious solution to a problem bureaucracy could not solve, began to capture the public imagination. The truck was a testament, not to David's aggression, but to Cynthia's profound disregard for basic property rights and safety. Cynthia's self-important demeanor quickly unraveled into frantic, desperate attempts to blame David, to deflect from her own colossal misjudgment. But the evidence was overwhelming. David's extensive documentation, the repeated ignored warnings, the clear pattern of deliberate trespass, and the sheer visual absurdity of the stuck cement truck. The investigator, a professional unswayed by suburban drama, understood the engineering behind the trap and saw the meticulous planning. David hadn't damaged the truck. He had merely created a controlled environment that exposed the consequences of illegal action. Cynthia had relied on her position and perceived power to bend the rules. Now, the rules were bending her, exposing her corruption and utter disregard for safety and law to a very public and unforgiving audience. The bridge was a problem she had created, and now it was a problem she and the HOA would have to uncreate. The cement truck was eventually freed, but the cost to Cynthia Vance and the HOA she controlled was immense. The repair of David's bridge, the expense of specialized truck removal, the legal fees for civil damages, and potentially even criminal charges for property damage and endangerment had all mounted rapidly. The HOA, facing public backlash and likely legal pressure, was forced to take action, likely stripping Cynthia of her power, perhaps even removing her from the board. Her reign of petty tyranny, built on disregard for others, had collapsed under the weight of a single, well-placed trap. David had not sought to destroy her, but to ensure accountability, and in doing so, he had delivered a financial and reputational blow far greater than any fine she had ever levied. With his bridge rebuilt, stronger and wiser, David returned to his quiet life. The incident served as a powerful reminder that some battles are not won through angry confrontations or endless appeals, but through meticulous planning, ingenious design, and the unwavering resolve of a man pushed to his limits. Cynthia had believed her authority absolute, her actions consequence-free. David taught her that fundamental rights and personal boundaries are not to be trifled with. He had not merely rebuilt a bridge. He had reaffirmed a principle. Don't ever assume that convenience outweighs legality, and never, ever underestimate a quiet craftsman pushed to the edge, because sometimes the best way to deal with a problem is to build it a trap they can't escape.